Welcome to today's webinar. I hope that you are in the mood for the webinar after this amazing Pink Floyd guitar solo, but that's not what we're going to talk about today. Today's webinar is all about how to increase your impact on the enterprise, right? All of us, and most of you probably today, are some kind of designer or architect, enterprise architect, business architect, service designer, process manager, system thinker. There are so many disciplines around that deal with the enterprise, and we could say they are enterprise designers of a certain kind. So today's talk is about how can we transform ideas into impact with enterprise design. Administrative stuff. There will be a recording. We will send it out to all registrants. You will get the slides. Please ask your questions as soon as they come up. So I will try to answer all of them. There will also be some time at the end for more discussions, but simply whenever you have a question, just type it to the chat. And that's the administrative stuff. Maybe a couple of words about myself. I think I went through the development from a novice enterprise architect, so from this IT-ish career path to maybe an advanced one, and then to a frustrated one, because maybe most of the seasoned enterprise architects, at least many I know, are quite frustrated because of their limited impact. And after many discussions within Intersection Group, we came to the conclusion that we share this frustration. Many designers have plenty of ideas, but there's so much going on in the enterprise and so much interest of various kinds, and many designers, many managers want to change and shape the enterprise each and every day, that it can be quite hard to be not frustrated, because we have way more ideas than impact on the enterprise. And that's the topic for today. So who are we as Intersection Group? I've seen some names that know us already, but so I make it short. So we are a not-for-profit association with the only goal to help people create better enterprises. So we publish. So we've created Enterprise Design Patterns books, and today's talk is very much about the patterns of our book. We've created Edgy. There was the previous webinar 2 weeks ago. It's still online, the recording, if you're interested, on our events page. We've created Edgy 1 year ago. It's a language for collaborative enterprise design. So we are committed to publish and to build and grow a community and a network, because we want to change the way enterprises are being designed fundamentally. And we do that as a not-for-profit association. I have a couple of words after the show, but that's also not why you all are here. So what are we gonna discuss today, and what's the problem at hand? I mean, we know that enterprises are behind the systems that run the vital functions of our societies. We have governmental, healthcare, finance, big tech. Companies have been around for decades, centuries, millenniums, I'm not sure, but centuries at least. But they often fall short to deliver on their promises. What we see out there all too often are organizations, frustrated employees, cumbersome IT systems, services that don't help the customers, are maybe inconsistent with each others. So we are pretty critical when we look at enterprises. And personally, I've not really seen a single enterprise where I would say, oh, that's a well-designed one. I mean, some are successful, some are less successful, but when you see it from the potential, from the huge potential, what they could be if they would have done it in a collaborative way, in a way that we propose as enterprise design, there's a lot of potential. We believe enterprises can work way better when they work together. So when the disciplines, the many different disciplines we see in enterprises work together. So this, our approach, Enterprise Design and Edgy, is all about connecting the different disciplines like yourself. So what we believe, and maybe one of our problem statements is, yes, there are many design disciplines. As an enterprise architect, in the beginning, I thought, hey, I'm the enterprise architect, and I'm the one to design the enterprise or to architect the enterprise. And then after some years, I found out, hey, there are managers and process managers and design thinkers, and so much is going on and they don't ask me when they change fundamental parts of the architecture. Maybe the CEO and the managers are the true head of enterprise design and architecture and so on. So a lot is going on. And what we want to change with Edgy, with the patterns, with the talk, the patterns I'm presenting today, is that you, as some kind of an enterprise designer, architect, get more impact on the enterprise. I've spoken to so many of you and all said, hey, I have so many ideas. I don't know. I don't have the impact I want to have because I want to get my ideas realized. And when we talk about patterns, why did we write this book 4 years ago? Because we wanted to have a foundation for our work, and they are based on real life situations. Maybe you know other books, Christopher Alexander, and there are famous books in the software design disciplines, The Gang of Four, and so on. And we wanted to condense proven knowledge. So we had 4 authors in the book, and in total, I think 100 years of experience. We wanted to condense it to the core, to the succinct core, as succinct as possible, to help you and many and thousands and hundreds of thousands enterprise designers out there to learn from that and to apply the patterns. They are practical, they are applicable. That's why they are why they are here. And you can start immediately. Some of them sound obvious. So we'll see today, yeah, I know that. But if you try to apply them in your context, you will feel how difficult it often is. Yeah, and then we will discuss this today. And today's patterns in the book, from the book, are the impact patterns. Yeah, how to increase your impact. And we draw this little spiral here. So there is kind of a sequence. You start with a very limited impact. You start with a new assignment, maybe. Then maybe you start with what is my personal vision. So that's pattern number 1. I will discuss it in a second. And then you increase your impact step by step. Yeah, it takes years. It takes years until you get there, that you have really significant impact on realization, for example. Many of us create some high-level business architecture, enterprise design, whatever diagrams that never get implemented. So it's really tough to make the steps from the beginning of a new assignment, maybe until you are there when the project portfolio decisions are being made and the money gets funded to those projects based on your enterprise design. That's not easy. And then you're there when the realization teams, maybe hundreds of realization teams in your company, really assign their tasks portfolio, that their Scrum boards, Kanban, whatever, however they organize their work, based on the structure of the collaborative enterprise design. It sounds easy, but it takes years. And so today's story is about starting a new assignment. And that's the situation. You come in as a certain kind of enterprise designer, don't care about which kind, doesn't matter. You start from a new assignment, and what are potential steps you take to gradually increase your impact? That's the story for today. And yeah, so we'll start with pattern number 1. Whenever there's a question, type it to the chat. I'm always keen to discuss and answer some questions, because it's interactions are important also in webinars. Okay, I hope you are ready for the first pattern. We have 11 in total, so this makes maybe 2 or 3 minutes for a pattern and then some discussion. What we recommend when you go to a new assignment, that you are crystal clear for yourself what's your personal vision. Also, what's your strength, what's your focus, where do you want this enterprise go? What do you believe? How much impact do you have? Yeah, you have a new assignment. And of course, all of us, I've never met an enterprise designer who was not motivated to design enterprises. That would be really a problem. All of us probably are motivated and want to deliver maximum. We want to have impact. So in the beginning, be clear and maybe write it down just for yourself. What is your personal enterprise vision? When you look ahead, maybe 3 years or 5 years, what do you think can your impact be? And what is maybe your focus point? What is your skill? Are you more skilled in the IT-ish parts of enterprise architecture, but maybe you can also go through steps of development and go closer to organizational design? Or are you focusing more and starting more from organizational design and move to IT part and to service parts and and so on. So if you are familiar with Agile, you know that we have those three facets. Yeah, most of us usually have a focus or a facet where they are better at. Maybe it's a good starting point. Start where you are good at and get a feeling of the company. Is it a big one? Is it a bank? Is it public? Is it a not-for-profit association? Is it a startup? So very different cultures, very different contexts. Try to get a feeling of the company and write down for yourself what's your vision. So what's your job and what are the things you want to deliver? Because usually if you are clever and you have probably many skills, people will ask you to do stuff that is not related to this vision. I've had that so often as an enterprise architect. They asked me, could you please help me to design the software service or the event or so on? So go level deeper to the code. And it's always tough to say, yeah, I've done that in my previous career, but now I need to focus on a certain level. So be aware and stay on the level that is needed to do a holistic enterprise design level. It's also important to do some dives and connect with the realization people, but let's not get carried into deep details, because then you don't have enough time to look across all the facets and all the enterprise. Yeah, so you should be able to push back on assignments that's what's written here that are not aligned with your personal enterprise vision. Yeah, be aware what you are, what you want, you as a person, and what you want to happen and what you want to deliver on the enterprise. That's a starting point, and that guides probably the other patterns. And the next step, and I've seen so many colleagues of mine that skipped this step, maybe not skipped it, but took only a couple of days and said, yeah, I know it all. I have already worked for the other insurance company and I know the insurance business. Let's skip the step and let's start designing a future state, design architecture. Let's go, and I know it all. Yeah. The problem with the situation is that when you don't take enough time and read whatever you can get, yeah, in the internet, the process models, the product models, the service designs, the org chart, get a feeling of the structure, talk to some people, talk to maybe your boss, your immediate boss and a higher level boss, about the political network. So try to get as much information as you can to understand what's going on. Yeah, which product does it create? Which customer segments? The project portfolio, that's always a good starting point. Yeah, look at the project management office of any kind, or SAFe, whatever way you manage your change initiatives. Look at the SAFe board, and try to understand that the portfolios, that what's going on, what changes are already running, and then you get a feeling for where is this already heading, because companies and enterprises, they have momentum. Yeah, they are like huge ships. They have momentum, and it's not easy to change. They're already driving across the sea in a northwest direction with I don't know how much speed. And then you come in, and if you don't understand the direction and that the ship has momentum and it needs a lot of energy to change the path a bit, then you are lost. So you must understand the direction of the ship, the strategy, the goals, and so on, of course. And that's not only important for your understanding. Yeah, of course, you need it to design the future state and the many interactions you have with other people, and then to facilitate the co-creation, co-design process. It also is super important for the next steps, for coalition building, which is one of the next patterns, because people need to trust you, and they need to say, hey, this guy is clever. It took him only 2 months. Usually I take 2 months. In new assignment, it takes me 1 month, 2 months, 3 months to read everything I can get, to get as much understanding and wisdom as possible from reading existing documents before I go to the next pattern, and that's coalition building. Yeah, now it's time to get in touch with people, maybe with a small group of people, maybe after a couple of weeks, a couple of months, and you're talking to your closer colleagues, you get a feeling where are the seasoned experts. The seasoned outliers, some say. So people with gray hairs already, they've been around for 20 years, 30 years, they know what's going on in business. Yeah, maybe you can find a handful of people or two handful of people, and you ask them for a coffee and say, "Oh, I've read so much about the new initiatives. I don't understand. Please help me to understand why we need this project, or please help me to understand why the organization is structured like that." Yeah, when I look at an org chart in any organization, it takes me 1 hour, 2 hours to have lots of questions and find lots of flaws. I've never seen an org chart that is not a bit weakly structured, I would say. Yeah, we all know that. Yeah, I've never seen the perfect organization, and if you have some experience, it's easy to find such flaws. And now, when you find people, you can ask them. Yeah, just stay in a role and be a curious asker. Asking question is important. It's also one of the behavioral patterns. And Bart Papagay in 2 weeks gives the webinar on the soft factors. So if you are interested to learn more about the soft topics, yeah, today we are talking more about the hard facts. In 2 weeks, Bart is amazing in the people topics. We'll talk about how important it is to build trust, and that starts with asking questions. And you can ask way better questions when you've read and when you've done your homework, of course, and you've read everything, because after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you will have hundreds of questions, because these documents are never consistent. They can't be, because they have been created from different disciplines in different silos, different projects. Somebody has done the strategy, other person has done maybe the project portfolio management, another product owners, they manage the work of their Scrum or whatever teams. So sometimes it's astounding how inconsistent the existing wisdom is. And that is the good thing is that you will have hundreds of questions, and then find those seasoned outliers, talk to them, and find out what makes them tick. And then you will listen to and hear some gossip. Yeah, that the department is not in connection to this department. It's not in the same business unit, because 5 years ago there was some argument between those two managers in charge, and for political reasons the organization is like that. Yeah, so we will hear a lot of gossips when you talk to the people, and that's a valuable resource for your further enterprise design. And yeah, so the consequences, you have started to plant the seeds for the collaboration needed to achieve your mission. What we also always say is that enterprise design is a team sport. It's a collaborative effort. It's more facilitation. It's more creating safe negotiation spaces. So it's another pattern. We will touch it in a couple of minutes. And you need to have trust. You need to ask questions. You need to have some knowledge to start this process. And it starts with coalition building. Yeah, find your allies, because they help you to get a way better picture and find the inconsistencies, detect them. The next pattern is a difficult one. Yeah? We all know how hard it can be to get in touch with the higher level, middle managers, or top managers, C-suite, and so on. But they are the friends you need over time. And it's not realistic that you are there in 2 weeks. You're new in this company, somewhere maybe under the CIO, or somewhere low in the organization. Most of us are not working close to the C-suite. Most of enterprise designers are not management consultants, which is a pity, of course. Yeah, we are somewhere in the organization. It's tough to get to them, but we need them. Yeah? So after all, I like this illustration here. So we think that the enterprise designer somehow provides a compass. Yeah? All the maps and all the investigations and all the designs, possible future states, helps the person, the captain, maybe at the steering wheel, to make the right decision and move the ship in a direction that makes sense. So that's a way how you could position yourself to executives, right? As a servant, maybe, yeah, as a servant to them. And of course, you must prove helpful. They don't have much time, yeah, in the beginning, and it takes some time, of course. And why do you need them? Because change always leads to political resistance. Yeah? So you are paid to find the best possible changes in the future across all enterprise design facets, change in the application portfolio, change in products, change in IT systems, whatever. You have always political resistance, and you need to resolve it. And if you don't have a clear separation between the analytical part, the design part, yeah, you could always on the paper, on the pen, you could sketch a possible future state after some interviews and co-design, but that does not mean that the politics will enable this future state. Yeah, there are always resistance. Somebody always loses, maybe if you merge some departments, or you shut down a product line, or if you stop a IT platform project and merge it into two projects. You have always somebody who loses. And the only person who can deal with that is the manager that is accountable for the people that have the resistance. I used to say the only person that really has the interest in an enterprise design-wide, enterprise-wide in making things better for the whole enterprise is the C-suite, is the CEO. They usually have the best interest that their business units, their departments, their teams work together in the best possible way. If you go one level down or two level downs, you always have personal interests. I'm interested to have more people in my department. I'm interested to keep this platform running, to keep this product going, and so on. Be aware that managers on the middle layer not too often have this enterprise-wide interest. So that means that over time, and that this can take years, you must be present in the boardroom. You must make it after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It's tough, yeah, and be present and be heard at the C-suite. That's a challenge, and you must start with building coalition, start small, and so on. So you need the support from the high management. You need to nurture trust again, yeah, help them, yeah, nurture the trust. Be helpful, position your creations as the perfect management instruments. We are management disciplines, but the pity is usually we have the top 3 management consultancies, the Bostons and so on, up there, and they do management consulting, but they don't do enterprise design. They create shallow PowerPoints usually, and we all know what they deliver, and then they are gone after 1 year, and so on. They're not doing enterprise design, but they counsel the C-suite, and that's a pity. We don't know exactly how to break this, yeah, but we believe that it's really needed to move away and move enterprise design to true management disciplines. And we have some patterns to do so, and we believe also Edgy as a language is a super cool tool for the boardroom, because it's simple and it's a simple language. And over time, we want to see more and more management instruments present that deal with enterprise design. And then the next step, now after some months, a year maybe, you know a lot about the company. You know a lot of its flaws. You know a lot about change initiatives that don't really contribute to the mission. You know how weak the corporate vision is usually, and how weakly connected the strategy to the project portfolios. We all know that. Yeah, I've not seen a single company where the strategy is well connected with the change portfolio and with the project. So we will discuss that also in another webinar. So after these couple of months, you see a lot of flaws. And you may, after those interviews, coalition building, you've talked to seasoned experts, it's important to have some kind of a plan where to start in the mess. Yeah, where do we start? At the IT level, at the organizational level, at the product level, at the user experience level. Maybe it's a branding issue. Maybe we should work on strategy and purposes and goals, for example, first. You may have an opinion on that. And you can write it down. Yeah? Maybe that's the part where you could write it down. So my enterprise design charter, my idea is to start here where this little flag is, and we move. Maybe we start in IT, then we move to organization. Oh, then we could have some resistance and so on. And once you have some allies and have some trusted people that trust you, and you can speak openly to them, then you have a small group, 5 people, 10 people across the company. That's key, that you have a person in each business unit that know the certain part of the element and say, hey, is it a good idea to start here? Yeah. And then align it. Does it make sense? Yeah, because it's your idea currently. Is my idea. That's why I would start. Does it fit with your goals, with this little group? Would it fit with the manager's goals and so on? Should we go for it? And then we say, okay, we have a charter, so write it down and communicate it and argue why you do it that way. So that's a way where you align the enterprise a bit. So it brings a lot of clarity for yourself, but also brings a lot of clarity for the whole enterprise, and communicate it. Once you have it, communicate it in the intranet. We've gonna change this part of the enterprise because these are the next steps. We have a plan, you are involved, and so on. Because most of the enterprise don't even know that you exist. Yeah, so marketing of your initiative. Maybe after a year, you know enough about your plans and where to start, and what is it what you want to change, and what projects do you want to launch, and so on. And so communicate it. That's the idea of this co-created enterprise design charter. And the next thing sounds obvious again. Yeah, we all know vision, how important it is. You can Google it, vision, and everybody says, yeah, we know what it is. And you can browse any website of any company and you will find a vision, at least a vision statement. The problem is, I've never seen a company where the vision and strategy is aligned with what they are actually doing. And that's a huge problem. Yeah. So in this step, so now you know a lot about the company, you know a lot about their flaws. You have this charter, you have an idea how to move in your enterprise design challenge. Maybe it's a good idea to, together with executives, yeah, we hope that you have some friends at least in the middle or in the higher management, and that say, hey, these people, this Wolfgang here, he helps me, and I really, my vision and my strategy was not really aligned with our change portfolio. And that's really beneficial for the whole enterprise. Most companies think they have a vision, yeah, and they have a superficial statement maybe, but what they do is something most of the time completely different. So that's maybe a good point where you can dare to go to the management and say, I don't understand. Yeah. Ask questions again. Yeah, you're the trusted person, hopefully, in this after 1 year, some more time than 1 year. And try to challenge the vision statement. Rosario asked, can you show an example of an enterprise design charter? I don't have it with me today. I'm not prepared to answer that, but if you send me or send us a message to info@intersection group, I can send you an example. So please send us a message, info@intersection.group. That would be awesome, and I can provide something, yes. And yeah, now you're in a position that you understand enough of the enterprise that you can dare to challenge the holy vision statement and the holy strategy. I don't understand why we have this goal, why we have this KPI. Hey, we only have financially addicted KPIs. I've seen that so often. We need to grow and this product group and so on. Companies should have more than financially obsessed KPIs. So that's now you're in a position to challenge that, and that's a super powerful thing for the whole company. Of course it is. I mean, that's obvious. We all talk about from strategy to execution, Business Architecture Guild. Everybody today talks about from strategy to execution. Yet I've never seen it successfully implemented anywhere. There are cool approaches. Maybe some companies have managed to do that, but we believe it's utterly impossible without a sound enterprise design. So if you don't look across all of the facets and how the hundreds of changes going on in a company across architecture, experience, and identity, they are not aligned with the vision. And changing only that is a huge leap forward for your company. And so this pattern suggests that after some time, after you have the coalitions, after you have contacts to the management, after you have a couple of enterprise design future states, or you revealed some inconsistencies, incoherence between parts of the enterprise design, then it's then it's time to find a way to align strategy to execution. It's a buzzword, I know, but it's really tough to do. And we believe EDGI is one of the key factors, and enterprise design, because that's the only way to relate the high level strategy, statements, goals, and so on to concrete elements, to assets, and to capabilities, and to tasks, and all the other EDGI elements. If you're not familiar with AG yet, there is a webinar on intersection group events. You can watch the recording, a lot of material on enterprise design, just saying. Okay, so the next pattern, safe negotiation spaces. I once created a blog post and it was really well received. I think it was the best, I've got the most hits for this blog post, where I said that the only thing the enterprise designer really designs are negotiation spaces. So we must be aware that people themselves want to design and are designing each and every day. They have an interest, they need to deliver. So a head of a department, of course, has an interest that his department has efficient processes and it works because he wants to get his benefits and he wants to get to the next level in the organization and so on. So there are hundreds and thousands of micro designs going on each and every day. So as an enterprise designer, maybe sometimes I say I'm an enterprise design coach or an enterprise design facilitator. I still think the only thing we design are negotiation spaces. That means you create a room, a communication space, invite the right group of people, interdisciplinary group of people, in a surrounding where they all feel safe and where it's possible to state some concerns and interests because they are not always, they don't want to reveal it. Sometimes they play political games and you must be really careful with these political games, of course. So making the space safe where everybody can say, I don't like to do that. Why? It's really tricky. This sounds obvious. Yeah, just invite a group of 10, 15 people from different departments or different disciplines, some managers and so on, to work on a certain part of the design challenge, just to ask, hey, there's an inconsistency between your department's capabilities and it's overlapping. I've had that once. Yeah, so two departments, they almost had the same capabilities. And I talked to the high level manager, said, okay, your departments, they are doing almost the same thing. They just have given it a different name. They name it differently. Yeah? And he said, oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. And that was a cool intervention, yeah, because 1 week before I talked to those departments and said, hey, you are doing the different thing. Yeah. And they were really angry and they shouted at me and said, no, Wolfgang, we are not doing the same thing and so on. So it was really tough and a loud meeting. And I said, okay, I can deal with that. So, and I went to the higher level manager and he had to resolve this problem. Yeah. And this space was not safe. They were shouting at me. Yeah. So that means it's safe negotiation space to build it sounds obvious and sounds nice, but this really is a challenge. You must understand corporate politics. You must understand the various interests and you must invite the right people that are interested in solving a problem, that have the business knowledge or that have the knowledge in a certain design aspects and so on. Yeah? So designing those negotiation spaces for me still is the actual enterprise design process. So there are various interests. Yeah. So what you want to do is bring together ranges of perspectives, moderate the negotiations. Now you are in a mentoring, moderation, facilitating role. So that's a different education. That's not maybe a design school. So you know how important your soft skills are at this moment. So I can only recommend that you also go to some facilitation, mediation, systemic coaching. There are a lot of excellent educations out there, and you should be able to facilitate hard negotiations and conflict management and such things. And co-create a picture of a shared understanding. Yeah, that's where our maps come into play. So the Milky Way map, for example, a webinar that we will have in June, Annika Kleiber will give it, is a possible picture of a shared understanding. A lot of AGI and tools that we will publish based on AGI soon is about depicting the shared understanding. And it's also part of the patterns in our book that those creations, those pictures and diagrams and models, maps, however you want to call them, diagrams maybe, are beautiful and are simple and are concise and support the communication. Because if you have a conflict, you have two aspects in a conflict usually. One is unclarity, and the other thing is interest. And what I've learned is that if you separate the two, if you work only on the analytical part, so let's work deeper to understand each other, to speak the same language, to have the same terminology depicted on a map and say, do we understand it? Do we really have to understand what the conflict is all about? Then the political and the negotiation and the argument is way easier to solve, because then you know what you're talking about. So I would always suggest not mix politics with the analytical and the design part. Keep them as separate as possible. It's not always possible, but keep them as separate as possible. And the political part can be resolved by your friend in management. Hopefully you have them. And the analytical part, of course, it needs your strong analytical and design skills and architecture skills and so on, of course. And also the people that are interested in a solution, use them as a resource, as co-designers, as co-creators. So it's not a game. I would say it's a difficult situation to try to not mix the political and the design part. Seemingly conflicting. So the consequence here is beautiful, I think. Seemingly conflicting positions. Maybe some conflicts are resolved by clarity. Maybe there is no conflict if you have depictions that have the right quality. Maybe the conflict is gone because now I understand. Hey, that's how we could resolve. So the clarity and the models helps you a lot also with the political conflicts. Yeah, but what we want to say here is enterprise design is not only about maps and beautiful, it's about negotiations. And the next pattern may seem as the most obvious one. Yeah, clear ownerships. I've not seen a single company where all IT applications were assigned to one and only one owner, where each business capability was assigned to a clear owner, each process group, and so on. Usually you have departments, you have ownerships for certain teams. So the hierarchy of the departments, the ownership, if you want, for the teams, that's always clear, because you have the hierarchy in the org chart. Always we have an org chart. That's clear. Yeah? But when it comes to capabilities and capabilities that go across to organizations, most companies have problems with cross-department capabilities, like customer relationship management, for example, or master data management. I have it in my current company, for example. The problem, everybody needs master data, everybody gets it from some different places, but nobody wants to be accountable to maintain the master data, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of accountability and responsibility. So even after 1 year, I don't have an owner yet. But what they accept is, we need a master data management capability or IT platform. I don't know who is the owner. I don't have time. No, I don't want. So, and then you need your friend say, we need an owner here. We need an owner here. And maybe also one finding: once you have the owner, clear ownership based on your capabilities, on your processes, the typical edgy elements or goals, OKRs. Usually they have owners in the management, yes. Then things get much easier, because then you have somebody that is accountable for designing this part of the bed. So the carrots here, maybe, you have the chicken sitting in the carrot fields. As soon as you have the chicken here, who's accountable to take care of this carrot field here, then you have somebody who plants the seeds for the carrots and designs this part of the field and so on. They say, okay, I have somebody who takes care of master data management and is an enterprise designer. Oh, let's look where is the next owner for the next capability, for example, or for the next process and so on. Otherwise, what I see is that the enterprise design kind of decays, because if you don't have an owner who's accountable for something, of course, nothing is happening there, and there's no progress in master data management if management says, we need master data management, but if they don't say, okay, this person needs to do it, and if you have that in many places, the architecture kind of decays, because then point solutions are being developed in certain departments. Then you strengthen the silos again, and you have master data management in this department. Doesn't help if you, as an enterprise designer, says, okay, we need to have it as a shared capability across the departments. All should use the same capability. If you don't find an owner, it's simple. I mean, that's obvious. Not of much help, of course. I've never seen, maybe you can write it to the chat, maybe some of you have solved it already. Most large organizations, maybe all of them in Austria, I've seen they have a multi-project or project management office. Can be a classical one, PMI, classical Gantt chart, waterfall-like project, these huge Gantt charts with 50 projects and their dependencies and resource conflicts, managing resource conflicts across projects and so on. You could do it in an agile way, in a safe way, in a Kanban way, but there are many approaches. The problem is always the same. Yeah, you have somehow to coordinate the work across teams. Usually the teams, they have their Scrum, that works pretty well. You have this team of 7-10 people, development team, whatever you develop, code or products, whatever. And the methods are mature, I would say. And if you go one level up and you do the coordination across the teams and the implementation efforts, the project managers or the people running that are not the enterprise designers, which means that their boards, that their safe structures, that their epics, however, which method you ever, their work work breakdown structure, what's the name? So the way they structure the huge board, the huge Gantt chart or safe or whatever board, is not aligned with your enterprise design models. So that means you say, okay, we need these capabilities, but those guys, they use different names, and the projects and the Kanban and whatever boards are not aligned with your terminology and with your maps. And that's of course a pity, because everybody thinks in this structure. Money is given to the projects according to the structure. Reports are being created according to the structures. Yeah, and then you have maybe the marketing projects, and you have some terms that are not aligned with your enterprise design. The people who created these boards are not enterprise designers. They want to have some structures. They are not interested in to have a coherent structure, in a structure where the terminology is aligned across departments, which is a big part for an enterprise designer and so on. So be aware that your project management department, your safe, but whatever you have, is not aligned usually. And that's a huge problem, because then you implement stuff from a different viewpoint than your enterprise design. So you lose a lot of impact on the realization teams if you are not there. So you must be there and also contribute to this change initiative portfolio. You should also meet with the people running this multi-project, safe, whatever skill, and try to have some impact and influence them that they base their boards, whatever structure they need to coordinate across initiatives, align to your enterprise design. And that's tough. You need to convince them. You need to have friends already. But once you succeed, that's a huge game changer for your company. Yeah, you lose so much energy if that's not aligned, if you're not the foundation of the change portfolio. 2 more patterns. So if you have some energy, that's pattern number 10. So now we are really there where we should be. Yeah? You must be there where things are realized. It's of no help that your strategic enterprise designs, your high-level enterprise designs, capability maps, journey maps, whatever product designs, we designers of any kinds, we have hundreds of them, hundreds of views. With Edgy, we want, of course, to consolidate a bit to fewer views and to a single language and so on. Of course, you need enterprise-wide models. Yeah, you need them to find the inconsistencies and keep things coherent. But it's not of much help if your realization teams don't even know them. How many, I don't know, in your companies, you can type it in your chat, yeah? But all of us, most of us have seen struggle, enterprise architects and especially struggle to have an impact on realization teams. They have their senior software developers, they have the product owner, and the product owner is God, right? So shepherded realization, all teams in your companies, they have their direction. Product owner is God. Product owner usually is not an enterprise designer. He has some goals, some product, some idea, and he must deliver in a couple of months or a year. So the interest of the product owner is to get the product done. He's not interested if the product is aligned to purposes and if his product is coherent, consistent with the other 3 products somewhere else. Maybe he or she doesn't even know that a similar project is already out there. So the challenge starts, and the problem is those people outnumber you by a factor of 100 at least. There are only a couple of us, only a couple of enterprise designers of any kinds, 10, 20, 30 in a company, 50. So that are kind of enterprise architects, business architects, services. So did you know this? Design disciplines, enterprise-wide design disciplines. There are only a couple of us, but there are maybe hundreds or thousands of people implementing the stuff, and they shape the reality. All you create are beautiful pictures, and so maybe that really it gets really exciting when you are there and they ask you for advice. And the product owners, that's maybe also an important target group for Edgy and for enterprise design. And the product owners look at your enterprise design maps, capabilities, whatever, and say, hey, maybe I should change my product a bit because the way I'm implementing it with my team, together with my team, is not aligned with the overall enterprise interests. So you must have impact on the product owner and must him or her accept or work in the direction of this coherent enterprise design maps and so on. I mean, that's also obvious. Another obvious patterns. If you're not there, you're nowhere. But that's really tough because it's 100 people to one kind of designer. And one way, so what we propose is that you must find a way to work with the team. So you go there, you should spend some time with them, challenge the requirements on a higher level, of course. Communicate your enterprise design, show them why it's important. Communication is everything. Marketing of your enterprise design. Become a trusted advisor. So you don't want to come across as an obstacle. You're not the police. That's really a challenge. Sometimes you must say, no, that's not the way you should implement it because it doesn't comply to the architecture principles or whatever. Many of us, and that's really a peril, is that you behave or come across as a kind of a police. These are the architecture principles. That's not the way you should implement it. Yeah, they outnumber you by a factor of 100. So, and maybe you can deal with this when you have friends in high places, but bringing your principles, your architecture principles, to reality, that's a real challenge. So be clear about your principles. Why is it important when it comes to IT, for example, that you use REST services and event-based architectures and Kafka? I don't know, some technology, but there are also patterns and principles on other layers, on service design layers and so on. Make those architecture or design principles clear and communicate why they are important and ask help from your friends. So try to come across more as a trusted advisor than kind of a police. Okay, and then we come to the final pattern of today. Maybe, I'm not sure if this is a sad story, but that's just the reality. We have the pattern of leaving. And maybe that's also related to my personal story. I once had an assignment for 8 years, which was way too long, where I missed the point to leave. So be aware that there are companies out there, and you will not always find it out in the job interview, that you have only 1 hour, maybe, or a couple of hours in some job interviews to get a feeling, how does this company feel? Some companies are resistant to think enterprise-wide. Some companies are toxic, maybe. They maybe hire you as kind of an enterprise architect, enterprise whatever, but their culture of egoism and division or department centricity and the silence, and the middle managers are only interested in their career and so on. There are cultures and there are companies where you should leave as soon as you find out there are some criteria. And maybe that happens after a couple of months. Usually after 1 year, you get a feeling. Maybe sometimes there are changes in the company. This can change immediately. There's a merger, for example. That was maybe my problem. There was a merger, and at a certain point of time, I did not have any impact anymore, because with this merger, the new boss, the new company structure, they were so focused on survival, but not on sound enterprise design. So I don't have any impact. My job was gone. And recognize it. Find out. So try to find ways to bring value to the enterprise. We are all human beings. We want to have impact. We want to be creative. It's part of ourselves in every designers. I know that we all want it. That's human, right? but you have tried it. You have tried the patterns. You have tried to find friends, but maybe you've talked to certain middle managers and found out they only have their own interests. They have a way to dance. It's a toxic culture. It's all about money. It's only all about politics. And then, then the consequence is be happy with the situation and use what you have learned, because you've learned a lot in this year or how long it took to find it out. And that will improve your chances for the next challenge. And maybe pick the next challenge carefully. Yeah? My message of this pattern is context matters. And yes, it's utterly impossible to do enterprise design if the company don't want to do enterprise design. That's the final pattern. Okay, any questions so far? So that completes the presentation. I only have the question, can you show an example of an enterprise design charter? Yeah, send me a message and I will send one back. If you have any question, that's your final chance. So give me some seconds time waiting for questions. There's only a thumb ups. Someone is typing, yeah, I need your question. That's always a bit annoying, embarrassing when nobody asks a question. I want a question now. Someone is typing, is there, is there, oh, that, I mean, that's the best one. It, I think when you're a bit, I already get some gray hair already, so I'm 54, and you get better at it, to have a gut feeling when you talk in your job interview, and I'm getting better and better to get a feeling. So in my younger years, 15 years, I took assignments I would not take today. Yeah, so it gets better. It's a gut feeling. So my answer would be, the shortcut is gut feeling. I mean, in the job interview, have some symptoms in the interview. Yeah, are those people always rushing you? You can try to find toxic cultures, and are they really searching for an enterprise architect to get better at it? But I don't have a pattern for that, sorry. Okay, Ivan asks, how much do you actively seek executive sponsorship? How much do you simply try and navigate the hippotype aspects of this? The hippotype, I don't get that hippotype word. So if you help me with the word, as in, how do you cope with people you actually don't like? Okay. I highly can recommend the highest paid. Okay. Thanks you. I've learned a new acronym, Ivan. Highest paid person in the organization. The whole aspect of working in personal relations and dealing with that is a whole universe. So we have a whole webinar in 2 weeks. Bart Papagai will talk a lot about it. You can get educated at it. There's a lot of education, yeah, in the soft factors, systemic coaching, how to deal with that, and it's also a lot of experience. Yeah, I think I'm way better in this than 10 years ago, based on experience, some education. I mean, what I've learned in my systemic coaching is that you must separate the topic from the person. So you as a person and you as an intervention. So what I've learned is that I don't take it personally when somebody don't likes me, because usually the reason is that I'm threatening some of his or her interest. I can deal with this situation. I can sleep well. And so that means, there's a conflict. He doesn't like me. I don't like him. What's the reason for that? Yeah, and discover it, and maybe mark it on your usually I draw a diagram with my relationships to the high level people, and work with that. But I don't have the one and only patterns. That's a universe. Yeah. Daniel, back to foundation of change portfolio. Any resources or advices on how to find a good balance between focusing on sustainable, maintainable changes versus changes managed mainly focused on time and budget goals? Oh yeah, that's a big topic. So what I'm doing here is to try to, it took me 2 years in my current assignment to moderate the board. So it's the C-suite. So I moderate there's a gremium, a committee every second month, and where we look at, it's more an IT job, IT changes, but capabilities too. Try to find a way to be present there and try to become the moderator there. And that's hard. That's hard, but it's doable. It depends on your situation, of course. And then what I do, I work with the pie chart that shows how much are we doing for what reason. What are we doing for immediate cash flow? What are we doing for legal reasons? Are we doing for end of life reasons? There are always reasons for some changes. And what I told them, we need 15% of our budget, of our change effort in enterprise design, enterprise architecture, consolidation projects. We can't spend 100% of our effort only in time to market. And that's also not hard, but that's a pie chart I'm using there. But of course, that means that you must get in the position to create this pie chart and must get heard. Make it visible, yeah, and try to find out which change initiative pays into which goal or category and so on. That's my advice here. Okay, we're a bit running out of time, so maybe the final question. If you have more questions, you can message us on LinkedIn. Intersection Group by Wolfgang Göbel. Yeah, categorizing the budget and make visible. Great, thank you. Yeah, and again, it's about being present in the change portfolio. That's where the money and all the effort, yeah, that's where the real stuff is going on. Be present there and try to categorize, find out what's going on in the company. If you have more questions, message us on LinkedIn. I only have 2 or 3 little marketing slides. So what we are doing, as I mentioned, we are dedicated to publications, and we are super proud of Edgy, of course. So if you haven't seen it, you must go to enterprise.design immediately, because it's really cool. It's a language that fosters and supports this interdisciplinary communication between disciplines. So we define elements and facets there, which is the foundation for much more that will come in the future. So we will publish together with our community more and more tools over time. So there will also be a tool probably that connects project portfolios and Kanban, Safe, and that stuff to Edgy. That will be powerful, and that will help to connect the change portfolio with the strategic enterprise design. That's the idea. We have the book, so that's the promo. Of course, today is also promo show. If you don't have it already, Enterprise Design Pattern is the way to go. Yeah. So if you go to Enterprise Design Patterns, today I presented 11 out of 35. There's more to come. And Bart Papegaille in the next webinar in 2 weeks. So that's the 35 patterns here. The Bart Papegaille in 2 weeks, it's May 30, same time, same station. He will talk about the art of human interaction. I mean, some of your questions already touched the topic. How do I deal with people who don't like me? Please be there and ask the same question, because he's deeper. He's probably the wisest person in the intersection group. And I can highly recommend it. That week after, I will talk about capabilities today, together with 2 new advising members. We have a deep dive capabilities, exciting topic. We usually have the most attendees in the capability webinar. So if you're into a capability modeling, we are making the next step. So if you have attended my previous capability webinars, this is an extension, and this will also be part of the next Edgy release, and the webinar will be the next step. Yeah. And Annika, she's amazing. She will talk about one way to visualize this shared understanding I've talked about today. Milky Way Enterprise Maps, if you haven't seen it yet, there are also some recordings, but this will be the newest stuff. And we want to see some of you, of course, in Rome. That's our conference. That's the promo for our conference. And there's an Edgy cohort. So the conference will be September 18, 20 in Rome. I will be there. Lots of nice people will be there. It's really no waste of time or money. You must be in Rome, because it's the coolest city and the coolest community. Of course, if you want to learn more about Edgy, there will be a training in October. You can register already. So if you want to dive deeper in our world and learn Edgy, the next chance is in October. Okay, more promo. Yeah, that's the conference. It's not in the huge cathedral. It's in a private university. We didn't manage to get this venue, too expensive. Okay. With that, I want to thank you for your time and participation. We know time is a valuable resource. I hope that you've learned a bit. I hope that you will tell others about Intersection Group, because we are cool and we are doing cool stuff, and we need all promotion we want to get, because we want to make it to all companies. I mean, we are brave enough and maybe megalomaniac enough to say we want to, in 5 or 10 years, we want to be the prevalent method that connects all the methods. We will be big. We want to be big. Help us with that by promoting our work. So that's the final words from my side for today. Maybe for the way out, I can play some nice Pink Floyd music. If you want to listen, stay. If not, just stop the webinar. And I'm hoping that you will show up in one of our next webinar or other events. We are running events regularly. Let's stay in contact on LinkedIn, Intersection Group LinkedIn, and so on. It's all about community building. So thank you very much for your time and see you next time.